So do you personally, as a viewer, not as a player, do you like to see very trolly seeds?
For me, it really depends. I think I like to see where there's different progression in different areas, which leads to a different narrative for both runners. But here we go.
Oh yeah.
Immediately different routes, but the same as last year's, I believe. So Andy going at the very safe beginning strat here. It worked out very well last year's, and he's going to be rewarded with early bombs. Gem will find those shortly. So will Uncle pay out today, or will he be holding out this time?
Bug catching net there. Not a super important item, but maybe not the worst one to have. Okay.
Silver arrows too.
Okay,
So
the uncle,
already,
he was almost prepared to actually take on Ganon.
just about. And I think we only saw a green rupee in the cave there.
Probably not a reason to kill Aghanim on its own. That green rupee.
Well, you know, if you're needing to defeat Aghanim, or you're in the area of Aghanim, find the gloves and need that one more rupee.
Yeah.
But early gloves, definitely nice find. One more piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, gloves are an item that on their own do open up new locations. Let's find those very early. And with a combination with a few other items, they open up a lot more locations.
Definitely. And already we got some early safety and a sick hit check with the bottle.
Yeah, we're going to get a double check on this lumberjack. Yeah, okay.
It's a Kinnaburna. Okay. I looked on the screen now and saw the bottom, but I mean, I got trolled by thinking Hammer was Kinnaburna before, so it's kind of a...
That's okay.
Cute happenstance for me, but Gem heading into town.
Yeah, and he's following in his footsteps here. We'll see everything a little bit earlier on Gem's screen, though. But I imagine the paths that they take will stay very similar, at least through Kakariko Town. Both with enough bombs to fully check town as well.
So there's our green rupee. There's 300 more to go with it. A little bit of love and some blueberries.
Nice. Yeah, there's 2 green rupees in the vanilla game, and both are randomized in the randomizer, of course. One of them is in... Oh, there's the flippers. That's a nice item. Do you know where the green rupees are in vanilla?
I don't actually remember where the green rupees are, but I was going to ask, aren't the flippers called the finger webs in the Japanese version?
Yeah, they actually are. That's how the credits refers to them. And then when they translated it to the English version, they didn't recenter the text, even though it has a different amount of characters. So in the credits on the English version, the flippers text is off-center. Fun little trivia there.
The more you know.
And so that doesn't come into play in a randomizer run. I don't know.
So lots of money. They kind of got like a lot of the early stuff that really, ooh, the flute. That'll be really handy for mobility. They're getting a lot of the items where it's like you have the money, you have the bombs and everything, so it's setting up for like not having to worry too much about the routing for that stuff later.
Yeah, it's actually really cool that they got a bottle and the flute before coming to town or in town, and both of them can be used in town and save some return trips. Always nice. In fact, this is one of the reasons why I might like doing a route that doesn't come to town first, just because there's a few things that have prerequisites, and if there's a chance that you might find those prerequisites in another area that doesn't have prerequisites, like, for example, the Uncle area at Howard Castle, even if it's a small chance, it can potentially save you a lot of time.
For sure. So we're entering the chicken hut. Let's see if there's any different brand of chicken clip. Looks like he's just opting to go into the hut and to get his item here. Find some rupees.
I don't think either of them are likely to do it.
You do bring up a really good point, though, with trying to find items before you come to Kakariko. That was something I feel is a lot more prevalent in Standard, because you're forced to go through Escape. So when you do that, you're a little bit more prepared for maybe an early, or quote-unquote early, Moldorm check.
Yeah,
and then you might
you're definitely going to have
helping in town.
Yeah, you're definitely going to have a sword at least, so you don't have to worry about being able to kill the Moldorms. Whether or not you have bombs, of course, is still up to chance, but there's a pretty good chance you will. So yeah, the early game variability is a little different in standard than open. It's maybe a little more variable in open, but maybe in some ways more restricted as well.
Yeah, that was always what interests me. We found the heart piece in the tavern, but I never really saw like too much of a difference between the two versions, aside from mostly flavor for what maybe the individual prefers in terms of, you know, do they want to get really creative with the route, or do they want, you know, to kind of have more of a narrative going into the route, etc.
Yeah. Looks like Jem's going to be checking this item from the high ground. I don't mind this check if you have a lot of bombs. If you're low on bombs, you might not want to waste one, just in case it's not good. But yeah, if there is something good here, you do save time by going straight for it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a standard thing that he does, and also you can kind of play to the tune of your items. If you're still lacking a lot of items, then maybe you can work at the odds in your head, saying, you know, maybe there is chance of an item being here more than it might otherwise be.
Yeah, basing that decision on what you have found up to that point can definitely a good thing to do.
And early escape check. When you get the gloves, this is a really smart, fast check to go for. 3 very fast items, and sometimes you have the potential to go check that mail chest too. Free bomb jump. Free bomb drop doesn't hurt either.
And he's using that flute to travel around a little bit faster.
Hammer and bomb upgrade. So already we're starting to get some direction here.
Yeah, so the hammer is really handy because it's a good powerful weapon that does not require any ammo to use. You can use it on pretty much any enemy. It does the same damage as a level 3 sword, but it's a little less easy to use effectively. Has a few other disadvantages compared to the sword. Jem's setting up the Holy Hand room right here, by the way. By messing up the camera, he's going to be able to trigger an Easter egg and get a lot of rupees. Some of the disadvantages of the hammer over the sword include the fact that it does not cut curtains in Agnem's Tower or Skullwoods. And of course, you need the level 2 sword to get an item from the tablets, or any sword at all to use any medallion at all.
Yeah, the hitbox is a little bit more unwieldy too, but Andy heading into Lake Hyplia here. Mm-hmm. Very good bomb throw.
Oh yeah. Was he gonna want that magic? Nah. Maybe if he had a boomerang or a hook shot, he might grab it, but doesn't want to go walk all the way to it. Jem now has enough rupees for Zora's domain, so if he wants to go that way early with the flippers, he'll be able to check every location there with that many rupees, so that might be a good choice to do very early.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Andy, just some rupees and heart pieces, but a little bit of safety, a little bit of money. Not quite 500, but he's certainly getting very close.
Yeah, quite close. Saw a crystal at Eastern Palace, a red crystal at Tower of Hera, and one of the pendants at Desert. I like when I see more crystals in the light world as a player.
I think chat is hoping for a fake real flippers. And so often you get to this spot and maybe you don't have flippers, and just part of the muscle memory, you might route in the fake flipper.
Yeah.
And 20 more rupees for Andy. So even though there wasn't too much in Ice Arcade, this is actually, it's not the worst thing to find.
No, he's just a little bit short of what he would need to for Zora. Looks like he's at least going to swim. We'll see where he just...
Ooh, Jem has to be careful. Hammering that Muldern can be very tricky. Yeah. He does opt for the magic refill.
Mm-hmm. Little cash on the island. Probably won't see them going back for that.
So do you think we're going to find our Pearl in the upcoming Zora area, maybe?
Yeah, it's a definite possibility. The hammer and the gloves are all that you need to get to the Dark World, but once you're there, you won't really be able to do much without the Pearl. So there are still a lot of places it could be, but there are a lot of locations over at Zora's Domain as well.
And it's good that Jen is cognizant to the fact that he has the flippers. Going this route, and even just this one little screen, is a lot quicker than going the normal walking route. Swimming, I believe, being faster than walking.
It is over a certain distance, but the big thing there is that it actually reduces the total amount of distance traveled. If you have the boots, it's not quite as significant, but also when you go that way, you actually avoid having to interact with a few of the crabs. And since he's down to 2 hearts, and they do 2 hearts of damage when you have green mail, that's actually a pretty important safety consideration there.
Definitely. And Andy funding another 20, but still a little bit short of Zora.
Yeah.
Do you know if there's any quick rupees in the area? He could have grabbed the rock and attempted to hit an enemy.
Yeah.
But
he's really just going to be hoping for, I mean, without an item to kill enemies quickly, he's not really going to want to hope for drops. I mean, he could have used the rock or other objects, but it would have taken a while, and there would have been no guarantee of anything that way.
Yeah, luckily for him, because they do have the flippers, the rest of the Zora area could have had the worth. So if they had only had the gloves, Zora having an item, the potential would have been higher. But with the flippers and the waterfall cave and the ledge, it kind of dilutes that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, so depending on how items end up playing out from here, it may become probable that Zora does have an item in his assessment as he plays, but it's not a place you're going to want to have to go back to. Unless maybe you can combine it with the catfish later.
The catfish is probably my own least favorite thing to check. There's the ice rod at Szechuan's little area here. Not too useful yet, but it could be a decent weapon or boss killer.
Yeah, it actually isn't a terrible weapon, but I have a feeling Andy's going to be finding that hammer pretty soon.
This is turning into a very blue seed.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if Zora does have an item for Gem here.
Yeah, this could be a turning point.
Routing in, I imagine trying to route in catfish, maybe the mushroom, and Zora might be in the future for Andy, but still, It is nice to check locations if you can early, if you're in the area.
Yeah, for sure.
Ooh, Gem, 1 heart.
Oh, wow.
He's fun, but still, ooh.
He's gonna pick it up. Oh, no. He just made an enemy out of you, I think.
Blasphemy.
Yeah.
But, no, I understand it. So, Andy looking to go to escape here.
Yeah, looks like Gem doing so as well.
Sometimes players like to have boots in the mirror when they go in, but for me, I kind of look for the lantern, just because then it just put the middle room in the logic. Sometimes people like to gamble it, sometimes people like to go for it. And it has trolled people in the past too.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, I believe it had an important item in the first race between these two players, and Gem got it very early.
That's very true.
Didn't get it quite as soon.
So we've already seen the map, so we know that the mail chest will either be the key or an item.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, I think the way the logic works, it might have to be the key. Or maybe I'm misremembering something about that. Well, if it does end up being the key, we can say that I was right, but even if it's just coincidence, I'll take credit.
So you get your knives and pitchforks ready, chat, if Scud is wrong. Or rather, right.
You got a heart piece there. He does have the ice rod, so he has the potential to do a pretty neat strat to kill the ball and chain guard. The technically correct strategy. All those hearts, I don't think we're going to be seeing a death warp. I don't think he really likes to do that room in the dark anyway. Well, now that we know it has to be a key, I guess that's the reason he's not going to do it. Oh, wow.
Shot.
A nice item.
So they don't have the lantern, but they do have the flute. So they can go to the mountain now.
Yeah, the mountain is within the logic now. Even without the flute, they could get to it with the gloves, but they'd have to go through a dark room. But this way, we do know that they're allowed to, officially.
This is funny. He's not doing the middle dark room, or, well, there's no point now, but doing this dark room.
Yeah.
It's really simple though. It's pretty much on rails. Like you can really just hug the terrain and you'll get through it really simply.
Yep, it's nice to have some object that can help you to find the walls, just so that you can hug them, as you said.
What's also interesting is that they have a hammer, so they have tons to get here. They can go on over to the east part of Death Mountain, and then they can also hammer the picks and go straight over to Hera. No fire source, but maybe they'll find it on the way.
Yeah, the Tower of Hera is not definitely going to be completable now. The big key is placed first by the algorithm, so there's a 2 in 3 chance that it's going to be in one of the locations that they can access. The other one, of course, does require a fire source, but there's also a chance that they'll get a fire source before then, so statistically there's a pretty good chance that they'll be able to complete the Tower of Hera on this trip up the mountain, if they choose to do so.
So very soon we'll see if there's an item here. No boots, so if there is an item inside Spectacle Rock, unfortunately no hover, but
no.
It does have bombs, so if you need the bomb jump, you could certainly get across.
Yeah, of course the bomb jump only works north to south, not in south to north, because you do have to kind of clip into the wall a little bit.
It's kind of funny, you can actually be too close to the edge and it'll ruin the bomb jump. You kind of have to be not too close and not too far away, but the tolerance is really large.
Yeah, there's a couple of X coordinate positions that work, and at least one of them, I think just one of them, has a huge window on the Y axis. The other one is a little more precise, but there are a lot of combinations of pixels that work for that one. One of the things you see some players do, as you saw Andy do, is to throw the bomb to the side of the crack as far as you can. That way you can stand closer to the center of the door when it explodes and get into the door a little quicker. It's kind of a small time save. But
that was very good by Andy. I was admiring it while you went on to explain it.
Oh.
Yeah, Andy placing the bomb earlier, so that'll save some frames rather than killing the molder and placing the bomb and then trying to get the chest. Or waiting for the switch. Not too much in here, except for the fire rods. There's our fire source, and now we can go into the basement of Hera. So early, I strad early fire rod. Do you think Troll Rock might come into play? Not too far off future?
Probably not, actually. Not if you get him early. Plus, since Turtle Rock was very important in the last race, everyone's got their, anyone is of the state of mind that Turtle Rock is a good place to check early, which means that whenever you have confidence in something in Randomizer, it has to prove you wrong. So we'll see if that happens again.
Well, it's funnier too, because in the earlier versions, everyone knows they need a lot of items to unlock Turok, but for some reason it's finding the worth here in these latter versions.
Yeah, it's more, item placement is definitely more random. Hey, there's another fire source.
Well, that's convenient.
No more dark rooms for either player. Well, assuming the gem does go there next.
Yeah, Gem's setting up a very good bomb gem. I briefly mentioned it before, but if you set up the Y coordinate first, and then you try and set the X coordinate, the game will kind of create a bit of a fail-safe barrier, so it becomes a lot more consistent to set up.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that happens on some corners. Well, most corners, if you approach them correctly, you kind of bump into them and they kind of push back against you. They don't really want to let you fall. You still can fall if you try really hard, but they kind of give you a little more safety.
So Andy getting his break here. So do you real quick, are you able to explain maybe why he's in this invulnerable state?
Well, that's just because he's on the pegs.
Well, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it pretty much just gives you safety. If you have to switch to another item, another ranged weapon to hit the switch in order to get on top of these pegs, it's actually not a time save at all. It's just comfort. If you don't have to do an extra menu, it does save a little bit of time. But since the room is on its own timer, any time spent performing actions inside of the room is not time lost. But time spent performing actions in the following room will be time lost. So if you have to hit the switch in the second room, that will be a handful of frames that it takes to do it. So if you're able to do it in the first room, that does save a teeny bit of time. only if it doesn't cost an extra menu.
It's very good. Definitely consistent to play during the speedrun.
Mm.
Just low time servers that add up can definitely help in Rando too.
Yeah, for sure.
Unfortunately, no sword, so a little bit of a different strategy in this room, but very well done.
Yeah. Jem's actually setting up a death warp here. Didn't want to go all the way down to a single heart. Well, with blue mail, the Moldorms wouldn't kill you, so he wouldn't have been one hit from death, but maybe just wanted to play it a little bit safe. If you set up a death warp and then accidentally die before you intend to, that would be a little embarrassing. I don't know if I've done it, but I've seen it happen. And if I have done it, I won't admit to it.
That's very fair.
And you use the hook shot to get to that chest. Unfortunately, without the boost, you cannot bonk to get back, so you would have to either do a difficult bomb jump or fall down and then climb back up. Only one floor, so he chose to fall down and climb back up instead.
Yeah, the nice thing about the bomb jump is that if you fall, you're just falling down the one floor that you'd fall anyway. But between setting it up, trying to get it, and then dash buffering, the time would start to get a little bit more negligible.
Yeah. All right, and it's coming up to Moldorm. This will be our first real boss fight. Moldorm has 12 HP. Hammer does 4 damage per hit. It's the only weapon that they have that can hurt him. So we're going to try to hit him just 3 times. It's a little bit of a dangerous fight if Moldorm gives you some difficult patterns, but and not appearing to have any difficulty at all there.
Yeah, with the Surge, you have a little bit more of a safety. There's our Pearl, so now they can get to Dark World. But yeah, the hammer does a lot. Oh no, Gem takes a little fall into the hole, but again, not too far, so it's not bad. But the hammer being a little bit more wieldy and can provide a little bit of safety if Moldorm starts knocking you. The hammer is good because it won't put him into a rage state, so it makes the fight just pretty consistent throughout.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the benefits of using a greater damage source is that Moldorm aggroes after his HP reaches a certain amount, so you can prevent it entirely. Wow, Moldorm was camping the jump there.
It's so close to that other hole too, but
yeah,
I believe only in the center hole since he did the second floor.
Yep. And he's making his way into the Dark World. Gonna check that map. All right, we got the other 2 pendants at Swamp and Thieves Town, and the other red crystals at Turtle Rock. Okay, so Turtle Rock is going to come into play here.
Yeah, it's required, so it won't necessarily play with emotions too much. But Andy heading on over to the classic Hype Cave.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Gem has killed Moldorm on his second try, and there's a couple places you can enter the Dark World for the first time with the items that they have. They could go north of Kakariko Town, start the Village of the Outcasts, or Skull Woods, or start here. There may be some pros and cons to each, but...
Yeah, so I believe that was 2 arrow upgrades, some bombs, and the Riot Shield. Riot Shield actually does play into the logic a little bit. The lasers on the laser bridge in Turok check to see if you have a way to get around the damage. Of course, the game doesn't expect you to make sequence breaks. They expect you to have certain items. So the mirror actually does factor into that, or the mirror shield rather. Mm-hmm. If you have the cape or the King of Burna, that also factors into it too.
Yep. Those are the kind of things where a lot of players could get past those lasers without one of those items, but it does affect perception of the logic, whether or not you have, or where you could have had one of those items. He's going to make his way to the south of town here. You won't be able to get into town, nor check everything along the way without the mirror.
So we'll get to see his own unique dig pattern here. And then after, I can imagine he'll go to Dark World or Kakariko.
Yeah, this is pretty much the fastest way you can dig, is to do 2 alternating rows like this. It's the most efficient. The amount of digs it takes is randomized between 1 and 30. 30 isn't too difficult. It's not maybe as difficult as it sounds. 1, of course, is always surprising. You almost don't know what to do when it happens.
Start to panic a little bit. Picnic. But and if you have the Titan Squads, some people like to actually, while the crisscross pattern is fastest, some people like to kind of shovel in direction of the right exit so they can kind of double back and go into town, or possibly grab the frog.
Yeah, that's a very good thing to do. So Andy, instead of going to the other parts of the Dark World, has chosen to check the desert area.
It's a pretty good check. I believe Agina is one of the overworld, light world spots that actually tends to have good items a lot of the time. So some people like to get it out of the way early.
Yeah. Definitely not a bad choice. Capitalizing on that 50-50 chance to get a bomb from that rock outside of Link's house.
It's I mean, if you're waiting for the duck, it's not really losing time. And hey, more bombs.
Hey.
So Jen pretty much is following in his footsteps, and Andy now heading into Dark World Kakariko. He has the hammer, so if he chooses to go into Pendant Beast Town, he can indeed finish everything in there. But he also has the fire rod and Skullwood's crystal, so wouldn't be surprised if you assume they go there first. No weapon, but hammer Mothula. Probably a little daunting, but Andy is certainly skilled.
For sure. Yeah, in fact, he's going to probably go to Skullwoods first just because nobody wants to have to pick up that entire row of bushes to get into town.
That's very true. Just real quick too, those 2 stones that Andy picked up. The bottom one actually has a bomb, so I'm very proud of him for grabbing that one. And the top one is the heart.
Yeah, we used to use that in reverse boss order. Since we always come up here with like 3 hearts, 2 or 3 hearts.
So lucky for him, he got the key.
And he won't
doesn't have to go to the mandatory key room, but just about so far. Sorry.
We won't be able to finish Skullwoods now without a sword for the curtain. But he can still search most of it. In fact, he can search all of it except for Mothula. Gem now getting Sahasura stuff. He's pulling out the flute, so he's not going to go into Eastern Palace. So we'll be entering the Dark World where Andy has just. See if he continues to follow the same path that Andy has.
Ooh, there's the mirror.
Hey, that's pretty convenient.
Definitely. You can use the I believe it's Floor Master there to get out of the area, but the mirror being right there, quick warp.
Technically, in every game other than The Legend of Zelda, in the Japanese version, they're called Fall Masters and Wall Masters in most of the English versions. And Floor Masters, I think, are something different.
I was wondering about that too, because I'm like, well, they don't really materialize out of the floor, and then some of them materialize out of the wall. So I'm like, well, okay, well, those are Wall Masters. But
yeah.
Wall Master.
Sometimes it makes sense.
So Andy not opting to open up and check the one more chest in the Skullwood, so instead going into the town. Got the mirror, so it's already immediately a good item.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he may check these locations around the dungeon first. He may go in the dungeon, not quite full clear it. There's a lot of options. Some people do like to get just the first 4 chests. Some will get the first 4 chests and see how many items they got and decide if they want to continue. And some people may finish any dungeon that they enter as just a general rule.
Yeah, and because he has the mirror, just can go in and then a quick warp out.
Yeah.
So almost 30 minutes in and still no sword.
Yeah, I don't think they accidentally selected.
Even though having a weapon isn't always, like, having the sword as a weapon isn't necessarily the base deal, you do need it for some things, like cutting the curtain in Aga Tower, cutting the curtain in Skullwoods, using medallions and that sort of thing.
Mm.
And actually checking the tablets, or rather getting the tablets.
Yeah. Oh, Gem uncertain if he wants to continue, deciding not to.
Yeah, it's a little hard to say because you have to go all the way, activate, and then go inside, go through the little maze-ish area, and then double all the way back. If it's nothing, then you just wasted time on the other, the trip to actually go finish off Mothula.
Yeah, glad
Andy finding bombos.
Bombos in Thieves Town, and it looks like he's going to continue. So I'm going to check a few overworld spots. With the mirror, he's able to check the spot near the graveyard.
So already a bit of a divergence here. Gem going over here to check the mirror spot, because Thieves is pendant, he might be skipping it for now and using the flippers going over to East Dark World. Maybe work his way down to Pod Pyramid area.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that. With the hammer, they may be able to check a lot of locations in Palace of Darkness, but there's also a chance that it's bow locked right from the start. So it's kind of a tough call whether or not you want to go in there at a stage in the game like this. Oh, that's Titan.
There are the Titan Smiths.
Yeah, actually, that alone is going to open up a few more locations. On Death Mountain in particular.
Yeah, Death Mountain and Mire area with potentially the medallion that Andy just got. Still no sword to open it up, but yeah, lots of spots open on the mountain now too.
Yeah, this also makes it faster to get to this warp and to get back into town from this warp. So that looks like it's what he's going to do. Entering that warp from the left side will cut the animation short by about half a second. Most warps have a kind of setup like that. Call those quick warps. Would you like to explain anything about quick warps?
Not really. You're much more eloquent regarding it, and I've kind of given a little bit of an explanation before, but...
Okay. Well, Andy almost died. Used the red potion. Smart decision there. Quick warps, on some Y coordinate positions, the warp animation is cut short by about half a second, and it's based on the position of the camera, not the position of Link relative to the overworld. So most of them, in most situations, the camera is going to be consistent. So there is a consistent setup to get quick warps. For example, just walking into a warp from the correct side is usually good enough. It also works when you use the mirror, though there aren't as many setups for those. And yeah, throughout the whole NMG run, there's like over 20 warps, so you can save over 10 seconds total just by getting all the quick warps.
Yeah, lots of fun. Little optimizations like that. Again, 10 seconds. It all adds up. You can think of that. Some people have won rando just by sniping Ganon in like the final phase. So you can imagine getting those quick warps. That could have gotten you the win, potentially.
And imagine thinking that after a race. If only I got those quick warps, I could have won.
You can't really think that way, though, because it's like, well, only if I did this, only if I did that. But definitely, it's little quality of life things that can really help you in terms of long-term in a rando. But Andy heading into blind here.
He's going to try to do this with the hammer only. There's no real easy quick kill with just the hammer, but as a runner of the swordless category, he does have a lot of experience doing this. Gem opted not to continue, and so far I don't believe Andy has found anything else good here that Gem's missing out on. But I don't think he'd be becoming blind if blind didn't have an item.
Yeah, and also there's a pendant. In the event pedestal was required, then he's working towards it.
That was pretty good. Oh no, it's in that.
So Gem making use of his Titan Smith. Going to go and get the frog here. Has the mirror too, so nice quick easy check. Can do hammer pegs and all that fun stuff.
One thing you won't be able to do in this area for now is the magic bat, which either requires powder or use of a minor glitch, which requires the mushroom and the cane of St. Mario.
Yeah, that's correct. Andy looking to go to Bumper Cave here and probably get his mitts before long as well.
I don't think he'll make a trip back to the Village of the Outcasts. Since he's already been there. Jem did it afterwards because he hadn't done it yet, but I think Andy will proceed from here towards the east side of Dark World. Or immediately go to Death Mountain.
Yeah, he does have a few options. He could go to Death Mountain, and again, Mire can be a quick little check for some. They can get into Desert too. Don't have the boots, but otherwise they have everything they need to do. Both Desert and Mire can get the Mire check. But in the mountain as well, you can get the Torok entrance check and a bunch of quick little items as well.
Yeah, I guess there are still a lot of options available to him. Jim's going to take the south path with the chest here. He'll be able to check the cave south of the Haunted Grove, as he does have the mirror.
Yeah, and Andy pulling out the flute. So it looks like he is going to take a bit of a different approach. Which is very understandable. Doesn't have the bow yet, so going into pod and Eastern is more of a risk.
Yeah, for sure.
Mire, very quick check, so he is indeed going to Mire. Get a little bit of information. Again, he cannot go in without a sword, but he can get the 2 items here, can check checkerboard, and then check Desert. And it turns out to be quick, so even if he did, he couldn't enter just yet.
Right. It's very good intel to have, though, early. Another good reason to come here. Using the mirror to erase those blocks. That's a glitch that's exclusive to the 1.0 version of the game. When you're pushing a block, you simply have to use the mirror and the block will disappear. It is not recommended to do this in a dungeon because you will warp back to the beginning of the dungeon. But I believe the block may actually also disappear. But it doesn't really matter at that point.
Not so much. Just a little bit of Levin's Chugbar Cave. Jem checking the ledge before he goes over to the Mire area.
Interesting way to go about this. Not so bad, though.
I imagine the time difference is somewhat negligible, though, between just activating, walking down, and then fluting, waiting for the duck, and then waiting for the warp and all that, but haven't measured it myself yet, so I cannot say if it how much time it would save, potentially.
Yeah.
So Andy indeed checking Desert here. Checking immediately to see if it's boot locked. There is a key. It's not necessarily boot locked if compass and the map are in that side room. So still looking pretty good here. If he does find the big key. But he finds the bow.
Oh wow.
And there we go.
Yeah, that's all he wanted. Yeah, if the key is on that torch, you can go to the second part of the dungeon to get a small key to check the rest of the chests. That is, I believe that is a sequence break. The logic will never require you to do that. You can never get yourself permanently stuck by doing that. But it might be something that some people like to do. There's only 2 items in Desert, though. 2 potential items, and the bow was one of them.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that Andy had the bow, so he could have gone to Pod and Eastern, and with the mirror, have completely fleshed out that entire area. But instead is opting to go to Death Mountain here.
Yeah, wants to clear out the very lucrative overworld locations first, I guess, before going into some dungeons.
And that, and you still do get the information on a Torok medallion.
Yeah.
In the event that you get boots or something here too, that'll make going to Pod and traversing within Eastern and the other dungeons a lot quicker too. So it definitely does make a lot of sense to do this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Jem routing in Agina. Andy did a quick check a little bit earlier, and now Jem will be getting his check. It's a very good routing. And we find our sword and a 10 bomb upgrade. So
wow.
Total worth. Great option coming up here.
Definitely. And with that sword, they can now use bombos. I don't know if we'll ever see it, but it is an option.
It's very true. And it sets the potential for finding the other medallion and being able to enter Mire. And it is bombos after all. So you can go into Torok, but unfortunately, you need the cane to at least get into the dungeon. If you're missing the fire rod, you could go in and potentially check to see if it's fire rod locked.
Yeah. Yeah, and you need the ice rod to kill Trimax, but nothing else with. Ooh, what Gem just did there, he blocked himself with that squirrel. A quick tip there, if you hit a squirrel with a ranged weapon while it's in the process of freezing, you can actually knock it back a second time. So if he had fired that hookshot twice, he may have been able to knock it back far enough to get out of his way and get through there. Requires a very quick reaction though when you realize that you need to do it, but it is an option.
Yeah, and so Andy finding the cape may have gone a little bit understated, but now he can check Spike Rod, or Spike Rod. He can check a Spike Cave, and it's in the logic.
Yeah, for sure.
So knowing he can't really do anything to rock, even if he could open it, he's routing over to Spike Cave, and from here we'll get to see where he goes.
Yeah, 11 hearts isn't quite enough to get through, even with like very good movement or little tricks with the hook shot, or a little damage boost with the bomb at the end that Krista so likes to do. A couple bombs.
Yeah, I've seen some very fun Kaizo Zelda Spike Room shenaniganry.
Yeah. That was in a puzzle race once. We actually had to figure out how to do that during a race. It's the only way to continue. That was fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a more, not necessarily modern, but more recent puzzle race take place.
Maybe
That'd
someday.
be a lot of fun. Even a bingo too.
Yeah, maybe someday.
So Andy and yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Got some worth out of the mountain, got information. So go into pod, gonna get its crystals, and then hopefully get some items here.
Yeah, a lot of item locations in Palace of Darkness. Just a few in Eastern, but between the both of them, there's going to be 2 crystals and the potential for up to 8 item locations. And they have every item that they need to continue them, even the ones that aren't necessarily required, but are required by logic, like the lamp.
Yeah, this would be very good for him. So, would you have gone Eastern first or Pod first, if you were in Andy's position here?
With the items that they have, I think I would have done Palace of Darkness first, just to save one trip between worlds. And it saves a few seconds. If you're looking maybe for only one item, it might be easier to full clear Eastern Palace and hope that you get it there, and then maybe have to do less than Palace of Darkness. But as it is, I think Palace of Darkness is probably better to do first.
Now, what happens if you get boots? If, say, boots were an Eastern, or
well, then Palace of Darkness would be a lot faster. There's other items that can maybe speed it up a little bit. Well, they have the mirror already. Getting a better sword might be something helpful. Andy finally getting to use those silver arrows, like the second location you checked in the whole game.
Yeah, I believe Uncle was holding them.
Yeah.
And didn't quite make it to the mountain to go for Ganon, but
nah. He had the right idea. We're not going to see any hovers in Palace of Darkness, probably, from Andy.
And these bootless hovers, don't see them too often.
There's only one way to do a bootless hover, and you can't move while you're doing it. You have to stay perfectly still, so not really very effective. There's a lot of potential items in this dungeon, but there are also a lot of keys. There are 6 small keys total.
Yeah, it was really interesting how they had to work the logic in order to make this dungeon work. It's not been the kindest dungeon in that regard. It's played with some heartstrings, I believe, but still looking for the King of Samaria, and we're looking for Quake.
Yeah.
So far, things have been very quick. Both races have been very quick races thus far.
Yeah. I don't want to speak too soon. With those last items, I mean, Quake could be at the pedestal still, at least.
It's the very best scene. It's going to be the quickest.
quickest of seeds.
Yeah.
Boots would be a nice thing to find, but there is a chance that boots are going to be required. It's not a huge chance, but it is definitely real.
Yeah, so no big yet. No reason to hammer jump.
Yep.
That and
Hey,
oh no, he did have a key, but Master Sword.
that's nice. With a Master Sword, you can actually damage Helmet Sword in the second phase with flashes. So if your approach or your strategy is to just hit him in the face a lot of times, it'll be a lot easier with the Master Sword instead of the Fighter Sword.
Well, I think so. Lucky for them, they have the silver arrows, so
Yeah,
the
yeah, they're probably
sword
not
and
going
hammer
to do that.
strat probably not gonna really matter here, but had they not had it, most certainly you would kind of want that weapon.
Yeah, can still help in the turtle room at least, depending on what your strategy is. Because a spin attack with the Master Sword will kill them, but a spin with the Fighter Sword will not. That's what I meant to say.
No problem. And you getting those annoying kadongos out of the way. They can be handy though if you're setting up a death warp, just given the way they how their damage calculates. It doesn't actually prorate in relation to your mail. And you finding a spin key here? That's convenient for a big key chest, which had no other choice of being. And a shovel.
Ooh. Everybody loves a good fetch quest.
Definitely a fetch quest item from a dungeon. It's like, ooh, it's in a dungeon. It's the legendary Palace of Darkness shovel.
Yeah, and I think Andy never went back to South Dark World with the mirror, so he hasn't actually checked the location south of Haunted Grove. So he can at least consolidate that check a little bit, make it a little more convenient. In this room with the statue here, there's 3 hearts on the pots on the left. It can be helpful to get sword beams here because you can save a couple menus. You can actually save 2 menus by using sword beams to hit a particular switch. But if you can't get up to full hearts and you don't need them for safety, then there's not really much reason to pick them up. That's why Andy just went right past them.
Yeah, even though just being cognizant of the fact that he needs to hit the switch, pushing the statue preemptively and attempting a type of sexy statue movement, which is very, very good from him. But yeah, he has a shovel. So now if he goes to the southern kind of more Dark World tour, he can mirror and check the shovel.
Yeah, and in fact, he didn't have Titan Bits when he was in town, so we got a thing with the Smith of the chest, and with Powder now, that would actually be a pretty nice sequence of overworld locations to check all at once.
Yeah, it'll be very smooth going through.
Doing hammer only when the turtles and succeeding getting that's not the easiest thing to do, actually. It's pretty tough. He didn't use the sword. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say for anyone watching, if you don't have a sword in that room, definitely take notes right there.
Yeah, he didn't use a sword actually. I think because he doesn't have boots and he wasn't able to dash into the room. When you do that, you can keep your sword out without having to take time to slash it. In that case, it would have had to slash it. He could have still done it outside of the room to not lose time in the room, but I guess he didn't want to do it at all, and I would guess that's why he did that.
Yeah, very, very good fight from Andy. And that's one of those things where it's like, as a viewer, you might not really notice it, but the fact that, again, when you get to that room, you normally have boots, you dash in, and then you can hold your sword into that room. But otherwise, you'd actually have to take the time to slash your sword and get into position. Andy just straight up opting to walk through and do the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's little things.
Yeah.
Right. And having finished Palace Darkness, he is now going into Eastern.
Mm-hmm. And what we'll see Jem do here is to use the sword beams to hit the switch there. So it doesn't have to switch to a ranged weapon and then switch back to the hammer. Save 2 minis there. He's slashing his sword before the turtle room. So he's going to do a slightly different strategy where he tried to use a spin attack to kill some of them. And that went really well for him too.
Yeah, something that can't be ignored either is that The best strategy is always a strategy that you're most comfortable with. Even if
yeah.
something's technically faster or better, there's no point in doing it if you can't do it successfully. So
Yeah, for sure. In fact, I like to use regular arrows because I just don't know how to do it quickly with the silver arrows. I'd rather the fight just not get out of hand.
yeah, if you miss that arrow, all of a sudden panic.
Yeah. Nice Humsor kill from Gem as well. How much to say about it when you're this well equipped? Humsor it's kind of trivial.
So still nothing too noteworthy though. No Samaria, no Quake.
And he was able to kill those invisible Stalfos with arrows there. Normally you'd use pots, but if you have any weapon that can kill them, then they just happen to work as well.
Yeah, but vanilla dungeon, no boots. Have to just chug along.
Yeah. So in a room coming up here, normally you'd have to kill all the enemies to get the circle of anti-fairies to disperse in order to pick up a pot to hit a switch to spawn a chest. And what we'll see the players do is use a damage boost to get through the circle of anti-fairies and bypass that entire side quest of killing all these enemies. And
so my question is, the official name, if I'm not mistaken, is Bubble, but why are they called anti-fairy then?
In some of the games, they are called anti-fairies, most likely because they can be turned into fairies. But yeah, in this game, their official name is Bubble.
Oh. Good to know. And so Andy, coming out of this dungeon, has a sword, so you can go to Skullwoods now if you choose to. Yeah, and they have a hookshot, and even if they didn't, he also has cape. So ice palettes in Skullwoods look very appealing in terms of completable dungeons.
Yeah, it might be a good time to, well, you know, some players like prioritizing overworld, some like to go in dungeons as they can complete them. There are still some lucrative overworld places, and some completable dungeons. Let's see what these players like to do.
Silver arrows, melting armas.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely some merit to checking overworld before a dungeon, and also depends on the dungeon too. Ice Palace being a longer dungeon, a lot of people try to go mode it if they can, and so if you're only needing an item or two, sometimes people might prioritize overworld just so they don't spend the time in the dungeon.
Yeah, it's a tough balance that you gotta achieve. There's a lot of personality to people's playstyles. Oh, is it actually gonna be Ice Palace for Mandy? I know there's some people that will just say, like, it's always Ice Palace, you know, because it often is, or at least it seems to be.
Yeah, so interestingly, Andy actually going straight for Ice Palace.
Yeah, I can't say I completely blame him. I mean, he knows he can finish Skullwoods, but because it's partially cleared, he knows he's much less likely to find an important item there. Maybe even he's hoping to find the book before going back to Skullwoods. So we can do that pedestal check.
I think that makes some people happy. It can be kind of interesting between having a pedestal seed and not, because sometimes, you know, as a viewer or a player, you actually do hope it's a pedestal seed, and then other times you hope it's not, because it can really, you know, homogenize the decisions that a lot of racers made if it ends up being pedestal required. But at the same time, it could also help compensate, you know, a player depending on what happened in their situation.
Yeah, it's kind of like the more content that you know has to be done, the more consistent the time of the run is going to be, you know, because you have less decisions you have to make, and less potential for gambles, if you know that the pedestal was required, for example.
Yeah, and I think in terms of more execution-heavy runners, even though it can be a little bit trolly, they might not mind it just because if they can go through the dungeons really quickly, then it's a little bit of a nod to them in that regard.
Yeah. Coming up on the Ice Palace bomb jump. I know we don't always get an opportunity, Andy. But luckily, he doesn't have the boots today, so we're going to see if he actually knows how. I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways they can set up the bomb jump. If you hold left coming out of the doorway, the game will actually put you 1 pixel away from the door. And so in the speedrun, it's very common to see people hold left going out of the door, and then they'll do a dash thing in place to change their position, and then set it up for a hammer dash. But if you fall right after doing that and then hold left, you actually come out of the door flush against the wall, not 1 pixel away. So sometimes people get used to setting up their bomb jump, being 1 pixel away, and then they fall, and then they have trouble getting the bomb jump again. And it's just because they may not be aware that the game actually repositions them.
Yeah, it's actually possible both ways, but the thing that changes is the location of the bomb. So if you do your setup for Link's position based on like relativity to the bomb, like by using your sword relative to it, then yeah, that's going to mess up your visual cues. But Link's position after you set the bomb should be exactly the same. So if you use a cue using his hat or the shadow or something like that, then you should still be able to get it together, even with that situation.
So it looks like Gem is actually opting to go more for overworld a little bit here.
Yeah, going through a few locations that he's already partially cleared, but finishing up clearing them out. Locations that Andy has not been to at all yet.
Yeah, it can be a little difficult because of the way he routed early. He won't have as clean of a southern tour as Andy had. So you might be thinking, well, this is 1 or 2 locations, but at the same time, it's like, well, those 1 or 2 locations could be trolling you the entire time you're playing. So sometimes it's worthwhile to get them out of the way. If only for the peace of mind.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and Gem's going up to Skull Woods now, so we'll see if anything else remains here.
Yeah, and then he'll get to check the last item. Andy going through Ice Palace and not finding any worth, unfortunately.
No.
Still a crystal, so he's still making progress, but still looking for that cane. We're still looking for that medallion. And always looking for the boots.
I'm pretty sure there's an easier setup for this bomb jump here, practically automatic. If you just sort of hold upright while facing right, you'll just kind of get locked into place there and be able to place the bomb and do nothing else. And you just go right across, right?
That's correct. Originally, when I did it, I'm like, well, okay, it can be kind of proximate to the hole. There's Arcanus and Maria. Okay, so lots of options now.
Okay, and yeah, he hasn't been... Oh, no, well, he has been up the mountain. He doesn't have Quake, so he's not going to be going to Turtle Rock yet.
No, there's a decent chance that we might find Quake in Skullwoods or Quake in Turtle Rock, assuming it's not overworld. But no, just real quick for the bomb jump, because of the way that
the medallion's backwards. So.
No problem. Because of the way that the hole is in Ice Palace, you can kind of do your own inventive bomb jump in that one room. But like Scott was saying, you can actually just hold into the top corner and place the bomb, and you'll get it every time.
Jim's trying to take down Mothra with the hammer. And he's using the fire rod to try to hurt Cold Stare. Well, then having a pretty good time, actually. With the red mail, you don't have to worry too much about taking damage on Stare, and it's just hammer away. Well, not hammer away, slashed away, I guess. Well, hammering away at Mothra is Gem.
Yeah, a bit of a low percent situation. Sounds the comfortable red tunic. But Gem getting a little bit trolled here finding the big key. So
just to walk all the way back to that chest.
It's a very fun walk.
And I believe Andy is going to be making his way to Skullwoods next. I mean, from
This
here you
is
could
good.
also do the Dark World stuff at the Smith House and South Tour.
It's
South
good that
Shore.
Andy is going here. If he finds the quick medallion, then he can route in Turok on the way to Ganon Tower there.
Mhm.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did we find the big key in Desert? Yeah, no, we
Oh,
found the bow. So we do need the boots. Yeah, that's right.
Well,
I was thinking
Desert.
about that.
Desert's a pendant dungeon.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the I was looking at the asterisk thing next to the. My apologies.
That's okay. There's still a chance that the pedestal could be required.
This is true. And the big key being on that torch in Ganon Tower.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, Gem's gonna be going to Ice Palace now. We're finding his Cane of Samaria.
So, a couple of different options open to our runners. There's kind of the more safe, kind of safe route that you can take, or you can potentially go for a gamble and find some items here. But they have a lot of options between the two of them.
Yeah, still a lot to do. I mean, they could find exactly what they need very soon, or it could still take quite a while, depending on how it plays out.
And so I know with Tempered Sword, you want to do a dash at the beginning of the fight with Mathila to try and get a double hit. With Master Sword, it's better to do the charge as Andy did, right?
Yeah, it's fine to do a spin. With the Tempered Sword, a spin actually does no damage, just like a Gold Sword slash. So that's not really very effective. But doing the spin, if you time it well, you gain control of Link more quickly compared to bonking. So you're able to continue the fight quicker afterwards. But of course, they don't have the boots at this point, so it was the only option they had in this case. All right, so Andy's going to check this chest here, and then make his way back to the big chest to see what happens to be there. Not going to be too happy with what he finds. And we'll see what decision he makes after that.
Yeah, Gem going for the bomb jump here. It's definitely a bit of a tricky jump, especially to do it quickly.
Yeah. Hookshot is it's actually a pretty strong weapon in a lot of places. Pretty much any enemy that it damages, it can kill in one hit. So if you have a understanding of which enemies that is, it can be a really good option to kill. Pangators, for example, these Bari, or the jellies as we call them. Andy's in the early bomb jump. Here we go. And he got it.
Andy, being my hero, doing a walking bomb jump to get a bomb upgrade.
Nice.
That's very well done.
All right, he's walking from here. Let's see where he's going. Probably back into town.
Yeah, it looks like he's gonna opt to do the southern tour.
Yeah.
Turok, you're going through the dungeon, so it's not like you're going too out of the way to check the chests in the dungeon. But he knows he's got quite a few items, especially finding the shovel inside a dungeon. So, hoping to do this kind of quick check, maybe before he comes to any one area.
Mm-hmm.
Having the mirror and having the flute, but in particular the mirror right here, he'll be able to knock out the smiths really quick.
Yeah, still no boots for this puzzle. Of course, on the 1.0 version, you can do item, which means you can use an item while also dashing. Sometimes the effect of the item does carry throughout the entire dash. So in this case, you'd actually be able to just dash right through these pegs and just do it in a few rows at a time, or well, one row at a time. A few rows total.
It's definitely a lot funner if you have the boots to dash them all, but even still, do what you can.
We're spending 10 rupees on this item here. I think he can afford it. Well, at a profit, in fact.
So, the only item that Pestle can have that's relevant for us is Quake.
Yeah. Couldn't be boots because you need the boots to finish Desert Palace, which you need to get the pedestal.
Gem finding his Kanstamara, so he'd be very happy with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's already done the things that Andy is currently doing, so we'll get to see kind of where he goes. He dipped into a pendant last game, and Swamp Palace is there with all its 5 items.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in fact, they have everything they need to full clear Swamp Palace, don't they?
Yeah, that's kind of why I was like musing a little bit earlier. Turok, don't have to check too other way for the chest, but if Swamp Palace had the Quake, that might be very interesting.
Yeah, so Gem went ahead and used Bombos here to save some magic for the Fire Rod second phase. Bombos uses a quarter bar of magic, but it is enough to kill the shell in one usage. Was low on health, wasn't feeling confident, so we decided to heal up, and I was just going to kind of swing away on these guys with the sword. Pretty much has the freedom to just do this. A lot of safety at this point. And eventually these guys will die. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, and thankfully for them, they have the flute, so getting a potion refill won't take too much time, especially if they decide to, maybe route in a future mushroom or catfish check.
Oh, yeah.
But flute, definitely handy. Flute to 2, buy your potion. Flute to 2, buy your goo, and away you go.
So, what do you think? Think Quake is going to be a catfish?
That would be very funny.
I don't.
But catfish could be a little bit of a jerk.
Well, looks like Andy's making his way up the mountain, and so is Gem. We're gonna see a little sink for a little while here, or nearly.
And this is the part that I really like in the race, because obviously players have tried different things and they've kind of moved differently. But when people are in the same area, you get to see how the little movements and the little things they do really come into play.
Yeah. Andy's gonna climb up the mountain in the dark world, whereas Gem's gonna climb in the light world and get to the dark world after he gets to the top.
Yeah, I've heard people say that activating the warp at Turok is quicker, so I'll get to see it firsthand, I believe, here.
Yeah, optimally it is. But you have to deal with squirrels a couple more times, so there is a bigger chance of something major going this way.
And as you can see, Gem actually is in the dark world up here a bit quicker. So for anyone at home that's looking for a little time save,
yeah,
and we get to see two branching philosophies here.
Yeah, and it's a little different if you have like the boots, for example. I don't know which way would save or lose more time in that case.
I almost want to think the other way, just because it's a lot more long corridors, whereas the other one is more screen transitions.
You just described both as the other one.
Well,
that's an easy way to explain things and never be wrong. Actually, I'm gonna start doing that.
You're starting to figure me out.
Yeah, in fact, that was a mistake from Andy because he had to go back to the light world anyway in order to get up to the top of Total Rock to open the dungeon. So yeah, that was a little bit of a mistake.
But we'll get to see execution within Turok, how it plays out too.
Yeah. Some people do a little bit different routing at the beginning here. It's not something I've timed. Wow, missing that fire rod is really scary because if you don't hit it on the second try, You have to do the whole thing again, the whole room. Luckily, there is a full magic right at the beginning of the room, so you don't have to worry about that, but it is still a big time loss.
Yeah, Torok actually fairly generous on some of its refills, which is fairly convenient.
Yeah, they really didn't want you to get like properly stuck anywhere. Though it is, I mean, it's sort of possible here. Obviously, in a regular playthrough, you'd have the mirror in the worst case scenario, so you can at least leave. Definitely wasn't an accident that they made the dungeon that requires a lot of magic usage to get through the last dungeon, when you're most likely to have potions, half magic, or things like that. And they even put a hint right at the beginning. That tile says, "Definitely don't come here without green magic." Pretty sure that's the exact words. There's the mushroom, so we may actually see the catfish if we don't find Quake in Turtle Rock.
I have the mushroom, so if you need some magic, if you need a potion, just drop off your mushroom and away you go.
Mm-hmm. Pretty nice chomps, I think, from both players. Ideally, you want to kind of time the hit on the switch so you're already on top of the pegs, and you can push the block and walk off with the invulnerability frames from the pegs to walk through the chain chomps. It's not always possible, but it's definitely the plan. Fire rods kill hokey pokeys in one shot. You can do a quick kill with a single spin with the tempered sword or higher, but not with the master sword. So if you have the magic, using the fire rod is definitely a good option. Ooh.
Yeah, and at the end of this series of tubes, we find Ether.
The wrong one.
The wrong medallion. But for a second there, it made your heart skip.
It sure did.
A little bit jaded.
Double pokies. It looks like it's just enough magic to kill both of these guys, I think. Or does he not have quite enough to shoot one more time?
I think he's trying to save just a little bit for the king.
Yeah, that's
maybe.
smart.
Yeah, no tempered sword, so it makes the room a little bit trickier. If you have the pokies can be annoying, so just fire rod and fire and forget.
Yeah. That's a quick kill there from Andy. We're going to check the Mimic Cave. The only place in the light world that mimics actually appear, which is why this has gotten the nickname the ROM hack room, though that name didn't really carry on in Randomizer. It's not the most descriptive of names, though, so it's not too bad.
I mean, in Gan Tower, there's a room called Rando Room, so I don't think descriptive or I don't think there's a high criteria, just kind of what sticks.
Yeah, so they're able to grab that rail and manipulate the mimics. The trick there is you have to grab the rail, or you have to have a neutral D-pad at least at one point before you grab the rail. So you want to let go of the D-pad, then grab the rail, then start manipulating them. Otherwise, it won't work. Using the hookshot to get to the big chest takes an extra menu, because you could use the Cane of Samara, and the Cane of Samara is the next item that you're going to need to use. But again, they're probably just trying to save magic in this Turtle Rock dungeon.
Yeah, it can be really annoying if you happen to die in the dungeon and you don't have a safety door, because then you need magic to get through. If you die at the end safety door, then you can find a refill really conveniently.
Yeah, actually, I forgot that if they don't have boots, they actually need bombs, so it doesn't matter. The hookshot is actually just fine to use. I forgot. Sorry.
Hang on, chat.
When Gem's using that other platform, really rare to see that, but not a bad stock up right there.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. It's right there, most certainly.
This helmet sword can be a little difficult to deal with just the Cane of Samaria. With red mail, they don't really have to worry about the damage from the lasers, but the hookshot the end is going to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, and we get to see. Well, they have a mirror, so no laser skip.
Yeah. The actual purpose of the mirror shield. It's nice to actually see an item in the game being used for its intended purpose.
Yeah, but very quickly, Andy catching up.
Yeah.
It's getting close.
Yeah, we could see a lead change by the end of this dungeon. Ooh, Andy messing up the crystal room here just a little bit.
It's really good sword slash though. Reaching that crystal can be very tricky if just a sword in that position.
Trying to X-fight with the Master Sword is a little bit difficult, especially without half magic. They're gonna probably have to use the hammer to damage them. Without the boots, you can't get back to the back of the fight in time to do the backdoor strat. So see them doing the front door hammer. 2 hits with the ice rod, 5 hits with the hammer. They're gonna try to menu during the animation of the hammer to the fire rod, because otherwise they will not be able to menu back to the fire rod while the fire head is exploding. And then from there they can choose to use the sword or the hammer on the second head.
Yeah, and have to be very careful with magic here.
Yeah, they're both getting short a little bit.
Gem making it through, but cutting it very close. It's a little alarming, but both of them get through, so they get through to the final phase.
You're still going to do the start of the second phase the way that you normally would, which is to try to get a double spin immediately afterwards, and then use either the hammer or the sword to get the last few hits. Really nice second phase from Gem. Ooh, Andy messed up the spin, but got a few good hammers quickly, so we'll still be able to clean this up pretty quick.
Yeah, that's a very good recovery.
Yeah, really nice, both of them. And a piece of heart. Still no Quake. Where do you think our players should go next from here? Maybe turn in that mushroom and maybe check Pyramid and Catfish?
Yeah, Catfish is still a little out of the way, so maybe skip Catfish, but they could definitely turn in the mushroom and grab some potions so they're good. And then, what else do they have here?
Oh, there's Swamp Palace.
Looks like Gem is heading there.
Yeah. Ooh, and Andy's doing the mushroom.
Yeah, so Andy gonna do the mushroom, maybe a buff potion, and Gem making another, well, just going straight to the Pendant Dungeon. They're starting to run out of options, so it makes sense, unless he's not going there.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, Turtle Rock was the other Pyramid Fairy crystal.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and he can check the pyramid while he's there, and then maybe he can make his way up to Catfish and drop the mushroom off along the way.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Nice that the players are able to think of a routing choice like that so quickly, and us collaboratively take a little bit longer to get to that conclusion, realize what they're doing.
I'm still getting tripped up on the pendant. I'm looking at that asterisk, I'm like, oh, okay, and just it's distracting me a little bit. But no, definitely a good idea. It's also easy to when you're doing the race because you're focused on your own race. And so you're much more cognizant of those little things too.
Yeah, we could make a lot of excuses if we wanted to. And I'm sure at least somebody would believe us. Yeah, but if Andy's doing this, there's a chance he might not be intending to go all the way up to Catfish. He might just be doing the pyramid stuff. Maybe. Or maybe it's just slightly less efficient routing.
What are the odds that Quake is at Catfish, right? What are the odds?
Well, I don't know. I actually don't know what the odds are.
Well, I suppose asking.
That's one thing I can't not answer.
Can't not.
Can't.
So Gem routing to Catfish, and then the mushroom here.
Keeping that rock with him so we can kill that that guy with it. The Ropa. He's tucked himself into the corner of these bushes here so that he can use the portal. He's going to try to do a mirror bonk by staying high on this portal so that he warps back from the bush and that warps him back even faster. It's a cute little time save there.
Adorable, even.
Back to the Dark World, likely to go to Catfish next. Well, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to keep making that prediction until it happens to be correct. Barely a prediction, as close as he is there now. Oh, no. No. Never mind.
Oh,
wait.
Oh.
here we go. Okay, I'm fairly confident at this point that he's going to swamp.
So, catfish, quake, moment of truth.
Could it be?
Oh, it's a heart piece.
Oh no.
So, rip one dream.
Yeah.
It's good for Andy though. Not so good for Jem.
It is, unless he ends up going there at some point later, because any time you could go there later will be less efficient at this point.
So Andy finding mandatory key, and now the search is on.
Yeah,
Still not sure what's on the pedestal either, and no book to check. So if they don't find Quake here,
oh man,
it starts to get very involved.
Yeah, I mean, they don't find Quake here, or like the boots. Like, what do you do?
Well,
I have a feeling one of them has to be here though. So I need the boots to do desert. So if they get that and not Quake, then I think the pedestal dream becomes very real.
But if they find boots,
there are 6 potential item locations in Swamp Palace, the most lucrative single dungeon. Oh, that pug getting knocked back and frozen in that pose is kind of sad. Having the hookshot when you come into Swamp Palace is a lot different than a normal speedrun or a normal playthrough. You're able to get that key early, and there's some other decisions that you can make. Especially considering it's a dungeon where the big key is not necessary to complete it, only to open the big chest. That changes the potential routing a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how the central hub room just becomes so dynamic and just in the way you can trade it and go about it and then get the keys from it and go through the dungeon. And
yeah. In fact, what Andy's doing
here. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say what Andy's doing here is one of the options that because you're able to get the small key early, but this also has the potential of kind of hurting yourself if you happen to accidentally drain that water. The reason why it's beneficial is because you can use this door to get back to the switch because the pegs are in the down position. So it's a little shortcut. You go a little bit out of your way to create a larger shortcut later and save like 1 second overall.
Having the keys so you can't flood the room, but it's not uncommon for racers to hit the switch trying to set up the shortcut, and then they accidentally flood the room as well.
Yeah,
I did that during a weekly, and I was like, how do I reset the room? How do I reset the dungeon? And it just made for a gobbledygook time for me.
Yeah, in the vanilla game, it will never reset, but for the sake of randomizer to protect the players, it will reset if you do a screen transition on the overworld. The same thing that resets the first room of the dungeon in vanilla. So the players are doing different routes here. Jem going straight for the boss, while Andy is searching the whole dungeon, the west side first, before making his way to the boss.
Andy finding her is an interesting divergence. A lot of people favor going to the boss first because if you find the big key, then on the return you can end up using the big key, like right there with Jem on his screen.
Yeah, opting not to go immediately back to the big chest. He's going to probably come back in after he kills the boss in order to check the big chest and the west side, assuming he does not find in the remaining couple of locations.
Yeah, I know Jem is a proponent of skipping left side swamp as able, but to get through that glitch stairwell, I believe you need the boots, right?
Oh yeah, you're gonna lose 10 seconds if you don't have the boots, just because of the glitch.
Yeah, for those that may not be aware, if you have the boots, you can go into that one stairwell, and if you do a boot dash into the stairwell and then hold left, you actually will not activate the glitch staircase, and then you can get through.
Yeah, the glitch staircase is really weird. You walk up the stairs and then immediately are forced back down and have to walk back up again. It's a camera glitch, sort of. It's kind of a layering glitch. It's kind of hard to explain. But the thing that causes it is actually the staircase inside the room that you walk up to change layers actually triggers the glitch.
So this is really coming down to the wire between the two of them. We've seen a lot of locations. Andy also opting not to go to the big chest just yet.
We're going to see Argus get owned by a single silver arrow. Nice job there. That can be a tough one to hit. If you just start missing that, it can be really hard to get that fight back in line.
Those poor eyeball monsters just getting shot with arrows. I'm going to see it later with Vitreous. But yeah, these racers are getting a little bit trolled here for items, and as the scene goes on, definitely plays into your mental state, thinking, well, where's my opponent? You know, did they go to the right place? You know, counts going on, but they're starting to run out of options.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to see both players getting kind of unlucky.
Yeah, in order to, if Quake is on the pedestal, we need the boots in order to finish Desert Palace. Yeah. And the boots actually would open up some locations, as well as the green pennant.
Yeah. And he's fighting Argus now.
Closer.
What is the big chest going to have? Is it going to be something?
Quake!
Ah, okay. Oh, that's it.
There's our bacon's jet.
Okay. So yeah, that puts Gem in the lead here, going into go mode just a little bit before Andy's going to end up doing it.
So the only thing we might be missing is the boots for the Ganon Tower Tour.
Yeah.
Other than that, Gem is able to make a beeline for Meyer. Yeah. Sorry, everyone. Pedestal, pretty well dead at this point.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not really anything useful that could be there.
Well, it could have the boots, and the key could be on the torch.
If it has the boots, then the seed's impossible, unfortunately. Because they can't finish desert to get it.
Oh, that's true. Ignore me. Well, so I said it won't happen, right?
Probably won't happen. We'll see what happens. If it does happen, well, Andy will just do a glitch to get to the end of Ganon's tower, and we'll show Gem how to do it too.
Yeah, getting too excited here.
Yeah, so from here it's pretty much on Andy to catch up, because Gem definitely is in the lead here. It's not a commanding lead. It's definitely not insurmountable, and there is still a little bit up for chance. The very small chance of the big key being on the torch, or just a different route in Ganon's tower could make a difference. So the race is on.
It's much closer than the first game, so this is very exciting. Little things really do matter here.
Yeah, definitely.
Unfortunately, in this murder dactyl being a little inconsiderate.
Yeah.
No ether, so we won't get a dactyl check. But
nah.
At least we won't be pestering Andy going in anymore.
Now, in fact, when Quake is the required medallion, you do want to kill the bird, because it will hurt you while you're doing the medallion animation. Bombos will kill it and Ether will freeze it. So in both of those cases, you don't have to worry about it. Both Quake specifically, you definitely want to kill it early.
Yeah, it would be a shame to have full health and the boots and be able to do Meyer 2 quickly, but then the active frames of the bird hitting you or taking away your health. It would be a shame.
It would be a shame indeed. All right, so I'm going to go to. Okay, he's going to skip the other torch puzzle and the long cutscene that goes along with it, and check the other chest first. Just looking for the big key to get through this dungeon.
Yeah, he can check his other chests pretty quickly, and I think within the logic, if the big key's there. Yes. So because there's no key in the left side there, it was a pretty strong indication that the big key actually was not behind those torches.
It's an interesting observation.
Yeah, I don't know the finer detail, but it's kind of the idea where if it has a key on the left side there, then the big key has to be on that side too. Something along those lines.
That's some important thing to know. Kind of stuff I don't know anything about.
It's definitely important. There's a lot of little things like that in Rando that it's good to learn.
Yeah, definitely.
And, like even just that knowledge alone, it saves you the entire time going into the basement, lighting the torches, wasting the magic, having to maybe refill the magic, going through possible menu screens, just everything that goes into it.
So I'm doing a common backup strat there, where if you miss the block there, you can throw it from the bottom of the screen and it'll land right on the switch. Good way. You really want to keep moving in that room because you don't want to stand still too long, because you don't want the fireballs to hit you. And if you kind of just try to cancel the block and then set a new one, you're putting yourself in a dangerous place for too long. So that way you get to just kind of continue moving around, use your agility to your advantage.
And it's also worth noting that the strategy that Gem used is actually a fairly decent one. If you enter that place as a dark room, you can find, if you have trouble hitting the switch, you can walk to the bottom of the room and then attempt to throw it, and it should more often than not hit the switch.
Yeah.
A few ways you can do the dark room, but it's definitely a more simple one if you're able to find your position in the dark room.
Yeah. Coming into Vitreous here, it's going to take 1 silver arrow per small eyeball and 2 for the big eye. The silver arrows practically make this fight trivial. Ideally, you want to get 0 lightning. All fights where you get 0 lightning are basically equal because the timer counting down for the first lightning cycle is always the same. And it starts as soon as you enter the fight.
Yeah, so having Mire completed, I believe everyone knows what time it is.
Actually, I don't know what time it is.
Well, when you get 7 crystals, you're able to head up to Ganon Tower, and we are looking for the big key to get to the 2nd floor, and it can be in one of 22 locations.
22.
So if you have subbed or donated to the channel, you are able to possibly get your name on a leaderboard with your guess. And if not, just join along for fun, because it's a little tradition we have.
Alternatively, you can just post numbers in the chat that you think are funny, like 420 and 69, if that's what you're into.
We do have mods on hand, though, so go at your own discretion.
All right, see if Andy has as good a time with Vitreous. Jen had a short time ago. Good first phase. Waiting, and good second phase.
That's very good. So do you have any guess for the big key?
Oh boy. I don't know.
2. I guess it's 7.
Ooh, Jim tried to do a hookshot clip there to those blocks. Unfortunately got stuck. It's not a long detour to get past those blocks. And Andy will be making his way up the mountain shortly.
Yeah, going into this tower here, Gemma had kind of like the first game, but much closer. And it's just, yes, much closer. So very exciting. Little things can really come into play here. Just where the big key alone could be a huge swing factor.
Yeah, also there's a chance that they may not find the level to the sword. That's going to make the Ganon fight a lot different. Only the first 2 phases are going to be significantly more difficult because they do have the silver arrows, which will make the 4th phase easier. Nice use of the mirror shield from Jen there to protect himself going across that bridge. Since the Master Sword does not hurt those guys, you can't simply slash that guy to get him out of your way.
Yeah, that's true. You can do some little things to try and avoid the damage, like mirroring, but that costs a lot of time, or using the hookshot and whatnot. If you have the boots, a good strategy is you can actually dash across the bridge with a hammer dash, and then hammer the centaur at the Grandma's centaur at the very end, and kind of knock it away.
It's a very swaggy strat there. Earlier we saw that climbing up the mountain to get to the Dark World was a little bit faster if you climb to the Light World and use the warp. Oh, there's the boots, nice. So we don't have to worry about the torch key. But that was specifically to Turtle Rock, and there was a pretty big timing difference. But it is still, I believe, faster to go up in the Light World, even if you're going to Ganon's Tower afterwards. Especially if Turtle Rock portal is already active.
Andy actually getting a little bit of a damage boost of sorts through the centaur there. And Gem with the boots. Yeah, and Scan Tower will go just a little bit quicker.
Yeah, even just being able to do that bonk that he did there to get across that pit is faster than having to use the hook shot to get across. And of course, dashing is faster too.
And there's our buck.
No big key yet.
Ganon Tower not wanting people to go to do desert too easily.
Yeah. Still a reasonable chance that a sword could be here. Andy's going to do the same route as Gem. So from here, if he's able to execute better, we will see him start to gain time.
Yeah, this is when execution definitely comes into play. 8 items down, I believe. So getting close to number 9 in this fire snake room here.
Yeah.
Oh, and chat pointing out, and he can now hover Mulder too.
Yeah. He gets hover first try. You can save up to about 6 seconds compared to killing him. But that's with the Tempered Sword. So, and Andy's going weird route. With the Master Sword, the time save would actually be a little bit greater with the hover. That's worth noting.
Yeah, so Gem checking number 10, just some rupees. The burrito. And there's the big key. So that was 10, 11, 12. I normally guess 12. I'm a little a little salty, but congratulations, I believe, to whoever picked number 12.
Yeah. So this route's not going to do well for Andy here.
Yeah, he's making a big play, which would be good, but
could be, but yeah, unfortunately in this case it's not going to. That just does increase Gem's advantage, assuming that he's pretty competent with the Master Sword Ganon fight, and there's no swords remaining, or if there's a sword remaining, this advantage is going to remain very strong.
Yeah, thankfully it's actually a quicker check. I sort of did the math the one day, and going from where you get the worth on left and right side, it's about another 50-some seconds to get to Armos. But so a lot of the time in going to the right side is actually on the latter half. But Andy making the check, gonna lose a little bit of time. Not a lot, but enough that we know it's a very close race.
Yeah, he's really got an uphill fight here. Uphill fight, that's not really a thing, is it? Did I just make that expression up? Anyway, it's gonna be a tough race for him from here.
Gem doing pretty well in the gauntlet here.
Yeah, doing all right. The Master Sword isn't strong enough to kill Red Zazix. The hit. If you're able to hit him into a spike, though, it will kill them. Otherwise, you got to do a spin attack and 2 slashes. And spins affect your mobility a little too much in these rooms to be safe to do. It's a little better just to try to hammer away at him, but not literally with the hammer.
Yeah, but is like what you mentioned before on Master Sword is it's gonna come into play. If they find a sword, it'll really help them. But this is where making sure that you're well practiced, well rounded as a player with your different tools really start to show.
Yeah. 3 cycle Lamolas with the silver arrows for Gem. Using the silver arrows is nice because it saves you magic, and magic is required in the later half of Ganon's Tower. So if you use the fire rod and you mess up a little bit, you can end up a little too low on magic. So they do have, or he at least has a green potion. I think Andy still does as well. So magic is going to be a big concern for them. Yeah,
and even though Gem's pretty well through here, there is still Aghanim, which can be a little bit trolly. Not the worst, but Ganon is huge. With the Master Sword, it takes 12 charges to attack Ganon in each phase, 12 charge spins. And sometimes you can get lucky with the pattern, and then sometimes you can gamble on a pattern being in your favor. but that fight and execution will be huge. Again, kind of like what you mentioned earlier. They have the silvers, so they won't have to worry too much about that final phase, which would have been 24 charge spins.
And everything you said is now not relevant in this race.
Well then.
Yeah, that's really good for Gem though. He does have powder, so he's going to be able to heal up fully here as well, and get a full magic refill here as well. So he's in very, very comfortable position to finish up this. Ooh, Andy walking between those spikes in that room. Pixel perfect. I try to do that sometimes. It's really, really cool when it works.
Gem not opting to check the chest. He did get his tempered sword, so
yeah,
it makes sense. A competent player won't really find any benefit from getting butter. So
yeah.
It's really more of just if you're not very comfortable with the fight sort of thing.
Right. Or for the memes. But
or for the memes. Or just the knowledge.
Yeah. Alright, into Agnum 2. We'll try to hit him 6 times. Each ghost can only fire deflectable shots, but the main Agnum can give a blue ball in the second and third phase, the fourth one, or cycle, the first and fourth. The
very last phase, very good last phase right there for him.
Yeah. With the RNG he got, a 2 cycle was actually. If you get a blue ball in the second cycle, then it's impossible to get a 2 cycle. So a 3 cycle is the best you can hope for. So getting that is as good as it could have been.
Gem going into the fight here. Full magic has his red mail. Should be pretty healthy for the fight, but this is definitely a test of endurance and of skill as well.
Yeah, I mean, if he's feeling some nerves, something could very easily go wrong in this fight. But it would have to go pretty wrong at this point. We need to come back to end this one.
Yeah. And takes the hit there, but he's executing the fight very well.
He's down to 1 heart, not healing up here. Not getting the magic either.
No, Andy.
Going with half a vial.
Andy going for the W. No. He's going for the W.
Oh, wow. Nice one.
Andy says, no, I am doing this. I am going through. It's going to go body Ganon.
Dude, I'm more worried about Aghanim too, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Gem's gotten all the way to the 4th phase now. Getting a double here. He's gonna get the torch glitch and probably, let him roll up to the top where he's gonna get a double again, yeah.
He's gonna get a double here. And that'll do it. Ganon down.
That is the first series of the round of 16 done, assuming he doesn't walk off at the end here. Oh, and it ended up dying to a blue ball. He had a fairy the whole time.
But yeah, Gem taking the first game that you're saying, or the first spot here, with an official place with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 42 minutes, and 19 seconds.
Yeah, we got the number 16 seed taking out the number 1 seed. Don't know how many people saw that coming. I think my predictions are already messed up. But congratulations to Gem, of course, for that.
It's very, very unfortunate for Andy, and just so much to happen in a single day. It's not even 4 o'clock for me. But we're gonna go to see if we can get Gem in here for an interview, and of course Andy shortly after. But GG's to both runners. Andy definitely played very well. that end hover and everything. He's definitely playing his heart out right there.
Yeah.
It looks like Gem is indeed in the waiting room, so we'll pull him in here. Hello, Mr. Gem. How are you?
I was shaking and now I'm relieved.
I imagine. Congratulations on your double win. It's been quite a morning, afternoon, evening for many already on this first day into the bracket.
I was looking at IRC the entire time I was in GT. Why didn't he then?
Andy's just finishing up his Ganon fight now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Andy just finished Ganon.
Yeah, that was a close one. He's even hovering to the Triforce room. An interesting strategy. He doesn't fall.
And he gets it, so if he tried the other race, but he got here, he will finish, and unfortunately for him, second place with a very nice time of 1 hour, 44 minutes, 22 seconds. In terms of some numbers, but we'll see if he wants to come in here for an interview.
So how are you feeling now, Jem? Feeling good about the rest of this tournament after this? You got through one very strong player already.
Yeah, now I'm feeling really good.
All right.
So, still kind of confirming whether Andy would like to join, but is there anything about Seed that you're really happy that you did, or a little bit worried about what was going on in terms of maybe your decision or how it was playing out?
Well, the thing I was worried about was, well, the whereabouts of Quake. Especially if it were in Peepstown, because I only did the first 4. But yeah, I guess in the end, only doing those and not full clearing it was probably won me the race. So yeah.
Yeah, it was very close. There was a lot of small decisions that made a huge difference. I mean, you were trading the lead even at the end there, doing a different route in Swamp Palace and in Ganon's Tower. Both ended up being advantageous for you. And of course, there was that possibility right up until you found Quake that it could have still been on the pedestal. Is that something that was going through your mind at that point still?
Yeah, that too. But I guess in that case, like the thing I was worried most about was just that it was in the back of TT. If it were on the pedestal, then I guess it would have been kind of whatever.
Right. If it was on the pedestal, you'd both have the same amount of additional content to do.
Yeah.
If he had cleared Thieves earlier, then he would have had a lot of comfort much earlier, if it had been there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it can't be overstated just how close these races come, where even just a small thing like finishing Thieves or not finishing Thieves, or just the Ganon Tower route could play a big role into it. And in fact, actually, Andy, when he went into Ganon Tower, took the same start as you. But then when he went over to the left and got the key, he actually went to go to the right side. And then after finishing that, left to go back to the left to find the big key in the randomizer room.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, even just little things like that.
I was thinking about that as well, because I felt really behind, but kind of glad I didn't in the end.
Yeah, you had to spend a lot of time finding that last item. Whenever that happens, you always go behind. Was there any point in the run where you were like particularly worried about some decision that you made or something that happened that you thought was going to set you farther behind?
Not really. Well, aside from that Quake thing, as we have said already, but other than that, I was pretty satisfied with my run.
Yeah, definitely a good one overall.
For sure. I can just imagine the fact that things start to narrow down. It's kind of like, well, Andy is such a strong opponent and a very clean play. So you're kind of worried. It's like, oh, things are starting to bottleneck a little bit, and I'm sure, especially having to dip into Pendant Swamp, it starts to give you feelings of, whoa, maybe I don't feel as good, even though you're playing good. Maybe you don't feel as good, just given the narrative, everything that's going on.
Yeah. At that point, I also felt like we probably cleared pretty much the same stuff. And I know Andy has better execution than me, so at that point, if we had done the same stuff, then I would have probably been behind, so yeah, that's also...
Oh, you're saying?
Oh, nothing.
It's okay.
Go on.
Okay. I was just gonna say, you two played very similar for the most part, but there were some minor differences that came into play. Obviously, there are a lot of different logical decisions that players can make. So it's not like any one decision is necessarily better than the other. But then the way it plays out through the rest of the game can kind of turn how things go.
Yeah,
But
that's Rando.
yeah, that's Rando. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll be getting Mr. Andy in here for an interview. It's been a very long day today, but is there anything else that you'd like to say, Jen?
Well, thanks for commentating. Yeah, I also kind of forgot to say that during my last interview. Also, thanks to the others who commentated earlier. Thanks to the trackers. Thanks to Fiesel for restreaming. Yeah, you're all awesome people.
Thank you, and I definitely agree with that statement. Awesome organizers, awesome restreamers, awesome co-commentators, awesome commentators, awesome,
Yeah.
races, and everyone. And
Yeah.
a lot goes into it. Dude, our tracker, and Fiesel, and everyone on the restream crew.
Yeah, pretty awesome organization overall, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yep. Well, anyway, I think that's going to do it for this broadcast. There doesn't appear to be any more A Link to the Past randomizer coming up too soon. There is going to be some a little later in the day. The randomizer daily races that we're doing now on Speed Gaming. There's going to be one of those starting at 8 o'clock on the main Speed Gaming channel. And the secondary tournament race at 7:30. Those are Eastern Standard Time time zones there. And that one's going to take place on A Link to the Past randomizer main channel. Congratulations again, Jem.
Thanks.
Good luck in your future matches. Thanks for joining me, Dory. This one today.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm pretty sure that's going to do it for us today. So thanks again, everybody. And we will see you next time.
Take care, all. Bye.